Welcome to LovePunch, where I'm challenging leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives to make a lasting impact. I'm your host, Ruby Fremont, and I'm here as a catalyst for you, the new generation of thought leaders. Join me each week as I dive into raw conversations with real impact makers.
If you're too stubborn with your vision, you will kill your business. In this episode of Love Punch, I chat about building a business with Iman Oubou, a self-made entrepreneur, former beauty queen, and published scientist on a mission to change the women's media landscape. Stay tuned and learn why pivots are crucial to success and how saying no to opportunities can actually help you achieve your vision faster than saying yes. Iman is the founder of Sway, a digital media brand and online publication designed to provide valuable and smart content that showcases the amazing women disrupting the business world and creating political and cultural movements. She's also been named the #1 female entrepreneur to watch in 2018 by CIO magazine in its annual Top Female Entrepreneurs to Watch. So the advice that she dishes in this episode is well worth the listen. FYI, for those who are new to Love Punch, please do yourself a favor and hit subscribe now. Let's do this, Love Punchers. I am super excited to dive into this conversation with you, Iman, mostly because you are one of the most driven women that I have ever encountered in my life. And we've only just briefly met in person at one event, but the drive that oozes from you and the passion that you have for your vision and your purpose, it is contagious. Like when I'm around you, I feel fired up. So I'm really excited to dive into this conversation, Iman. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And I feel so honored that you say that because it means a lot coming from you. You're the one that lit up the room at some point when we were at that event. I was like, wow, I need more of this energy in my life. So it means a lot.
Awesome. So, I mean, Iman, you've been named the #1 female entrepreneur to watch in 2018. And you've built quite the empire for yourself. And I know you're not even anywhere close to being done. But I'm curious to know, what has this journey been like for you?
You know, it's interesting that you say I'm not close to be done. I feel like I'm not close to even start. It seems like there was a lot, like the first couple of years of building a startup is a lot of figuring things out. So I feel like the actual vision that I had since day one hasn't even come to fruition yet. It was a lot of proving the concept. It was a lot of trying different things and learning what works and what doesn't, and also finding ways to not disrupt the market right away, because sometimes it doesn't really work that way. You want to kind of take baby steps in order to change something that's been done for centuries, for decades. So it's been a really interesting past 2 years. So I launched Sway in 2016 for those who don't know. And the first phase of it was, editorial, regular content platform that fosters content that empowers women across different industries, specifically focusing on female entrepreneurship and women's issues. But we've kind of expanded ever since, and now we cover female athletes. It's not just the entrepreneur as in like the business owner, but for us, being entrepreneurial means you found a way to create you turn your own passion into a way of making money from it and making a living from it. So it could be sports, it could be influencer, it could be freelancer, it could be a business owner, a startup founder. And really the point of that was to provide the younger generation of women with more diverse pool of role models. Because growing up for me, I felt like the notion of success really looked like being on a fashion magazine or being a model or an actress. That's kind of like what we all grew up. I feel like you and I in the same generation grew up to kind of look up to that kind of success. But then the more I grew up, the more I realized that's not really who I want to be. I don't want to model. I don't want to act. I don't want to sing. I'm really bad at singing. So it's like, what else can I look up to? Like, where are all the other women that are successful still, making, great living, loving what they do, but then it's not really in those verticals, those industries. Of course, I started looking into business publications, but a lot of those are still very male focused and male dominated. So I'm like, well, why isn't there kind of a platform of a publication that would combine both worlds and create this vision of like a Forbes meets Vogue? Because I really
Right.
love the aesthetic of fashion magazine and lifestyle magazine. They're so compelling, and that's what I think attracts us to buy them. But then the substance is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on the other hand, the business publications are great content to read and a lot of substance and smart content. However, they're a little bit boring and stale, and especially now online, from a user experience, they lose me. So especially if also you're an 18-year-old young woman, you want to probably browse um, a Vogue or an Elle magazine versus like an Inc. or Fast Company, because it's just
Mm-hmm.
the way it speaks to you. So that was the initial vision of Sway, is like, let's combine both worlds and launch something in the middle that would bridge that gap and also be exciting for young women to read, because it's smart content, but it also looks good, and it shows the multidimensionality of women nowadays.
Right. I think it's really important to point out that you found an opportunity and then created a solution for it. So it's not like you took something and just made it better. Like you created a solution. You created Sway, which, like you said, it's like the mashup of Forbes and a fashion magazine, but something that really gives women um, an opportunity for them to like look up to something else and see the potential that we have as women. So I love that you did that. I love that you found an opportunity and really made that your vision and your mission in life. I'm also curious to know, you said you feel like you haven't yet even begun.
Mhm.
Why do you
Well,
say that?
because there are going to be, and there have been, a lot of pivoting to really achieve that perfect vision. I am a little bit of a perfectionist, which is not a great
Mhm.
thing sometimes. So I feel like, from a tech perspective, Sway is not where it needs to be. I think we kind of started very basic, very traditional platform hosted on WordPress, for example, which
Mhm.
is very limiting to what it can become. But now, thankfully and excitingly, is that a word?
Mhm. We can make
Um,
it a word.
yeah, yay. We are at a point now where we're actually started replatforming Sway into a more community-driven, interactive platform. So it won't just be an editorial website; it will become a platform. And
Mhm.
by that I mean, I want the readers and the women that contribute the content, the stories that are being told, to be more interactive. And not just come in and read it and leave. You feel like that is your one-stop shop for any time you feel like you need inspiration, you need women to follow that are doing great things, you need guidance, mentorship, so you can reach out to these women. So I
Mhm.
really want to build that community driven. And again, we probably are not for every woman out there. We're not a media startup that is trying to take on the mass market, like, for example, bustle, but I
Mhm.
think we're very much focused on the driven, ambitious, modern woman that also is multidimensional, that is taking on a lot in her life and tries to balance it all and not feel bad about the struggle that she's going through, because there are other women that she can relate to, and those stories are being told authentically, so that you don't feel like you're alone. Because that's something I struggled with a lot, in terms of finding my career path. I
Mhm.
had to take a lot of wrong turns because I didn't really have the right mentorship or guidance. I went to school for the wrong subject, but then again, probably I wouldn't have known then. But I felt like there wasn't a place I can turn to
Mhm.
feel that it's okay to have those moments when you're lost, or it's okay that you don't have it all figured out. And the more other women share those struggles authentically, or even lessons or advice or tips, um, I feel like the better and the more empowered women will become to take on more leadership positions and not feel like they're being held back.
Mm. So essentially you are creating what you wish you had years ago.
And I think that's kind of the essence of most startups. I
Mhm.
feel a lot of, I think, I don't remember who said it, but someone said, like, they asked him how were you so successful at building something from the ground up, and he said, I was just very desperate to solve a problem I struggled with. And
Mm.
that's really the drive, because most of us don't really know where to even begin, but we just
Mhm.
know that there's a problem. We went through it and we have a solution for it, and we're going to find a way to make it happen and scale that for everybody else going through the same thing.
Mhm. And I think that's really it's really awesome that you mentioned that. Like desperate to solve a problem that I struggled with. Um this lands really hard for me because it's the same thing with my coaching business and what I've built. It's like I wanted to build something that would solve problems that I struggled with. And I think so many, whether you're a startup or a solopreneur, like this is what we do, right? We get inspired by our story and what we've been through. So I'm curious to know, because you mentioned this a couple times, like there's been many pivots on your journey in creating Sway. You also mentioned wrong turns. And I love this because I think that far too many startup founders and entrepreneurs get stuck in a tunnel vision. Like it has to be done or executed in this way, and they don't let themselves shift from that vision. And that is what I think contributes to their lack of growth. So I'm curious to know, how have these pivots been for you? How has the experience been in creating these pivots? Because I know that you're also going through a pivot right now too, in creating some shifts. So how has that been for you?
And I agree with you. And I think I'm not going to lie and say I'm not, or I wasn't one of those founders, and I think it's especially for first time founders, you have to go through it to realize um, that you're very much married to a way of doing things, and it's not working out clearly, and then you're scared to pivot because then it will also be seen as failure perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my biggest concern, is that I didn't want to let go of what has been and create a new system, because I felt like people might judge me for, oh wow, so okay, it was 2 years and then she failed. But
Mm.
I looked at it the wrong way. I would say that if I wasn't pushed so hard by life and how circumstances have been to make that choice and pivot, I probably would have still been stuck in that phase. So I think at some point the circumstances will be clear that it's time to make a shift. And the more you push it, the worse it'll get. So for me, I've gotten to that point where it almost felt like, okay, I legit hit a dead end. I don't know where to go anymore. So I had to take a month and just take a step back and breathe
Mhm.
and almost start over. So it's not like I gave up. It's just that, okay, this is not, it's not working out this way. We weren't able to raise our goal money, like fund for being this kind of startup. What feedback can we gather from the investors we met with, the advisors we have, the people that use our platform, to figure out a better business model so that we can make that revenue and hit those goals, and at the same time raise money that we need to scale. And these conversations, I think when you're a founder trying to balance it all, it's so hard to have that clarity moment where you can talk to yourself about this.
Mhm.
It's like I was in this constant chase. I'm like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to raise money. I'm going to raise money. But it was a no, 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 no after no, which, they tell you that's how it's supposed to be. You get a lot of objections at the beginning.
Mhm.
For me, it wasn't no because the platform sucked or it was a bad idea. It was just that they saw a lot more potential and they didn't think that we were living up to that. So now it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I got to take a step back and figure out how can we live up to those standards, and then the money will come after that. So we are in that phase now, and it was very tough for me as a founder to kind of feel like everything I've worked for the past 2 years had to, hit pause and then
Mhm.
figure out how we're growing. But the universe is a great, powerful, whatever you call it, energy, and it
Mhm.
aligned all the right resources to help me now gain that clarity and find the right people also to help me get to that level that I've been trying to get to, but I was stuck in this old way of thinking. So I think um, there is going to be at some point for every founder a moment where you realize things are not working. It's going to hurt
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
we all want to think that what we're doing is great and we're
Yeah.
perfect. You got to have that real talk with yourself before it's too late, because next thing you know, you might lose the company, or you might have investors withdrawing, so you don't want it to get to that level. And it's really important to check in every now and then with yourself, which I think a lot of founders do a lot of public speaking and public facing conversations, but they forget to check in with themselves.
Yeah, it's a lot of like outwards momentum without the check-ins. And I think that's why so many people fall off track, or they lose sight of the bigger vision, right? So we can start off with this one vision, and if we stay really attached to that vision, we may not see the opportunity to create an even bigger vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you went back to, and listened to people on your team and really dug into the people who subscribe to what you're doing and listened. I think that's so key in creating these types of pivots, is you really have to listen to your audience. You really have to listen to those who are invested in you, whether it's like financially or just energetically, your readership, your clients, whoever it is. It's so important to just be willing to listen.
And I think it's important to say that the first 2 years, that's what it's all about. It's
Yeah.
your time to take in as much feedback as possible before you're too far along, so that you're able to pivot quick, because that's the beauty of being a startup. It's not hard. Like a big company like Nike, for example, or Condé Nast
Mm-hmm.
are not going to be able to pivot, overnight, because
Right.
it's a huge operation. It's a huge corporate organization. So when you have the privilege of being a startup, if you know that you're able to pivot, you should take advantage of that, because the more things and models you try, the clearer your vision becomes. And I think, just to add on to why most founders also potentially fail, or startups, is because of the lack of focus. I think for us, that was also a problem, that because of what we stood for, and because of the current climate and this new trend of women empowerment and feminism was so hot, and it's still hot,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many opportunities coming our way, and we just wanted to jump on everything. We wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do this event, we wanted to do that and that. And I think we just kind of lost focus of the number one goal, which is to scale the platform, grow the audience, and monetize it, so we're able to reinvest that into more scaling. And then once you get to a point where your first goal is stabilized and you hit that, then you can kind of branch out and launch other initiatives, or spread your wings in different directions. But I think a lot of startups try to do it all at first, because
Mm-hmm.
they want to capitalize on that momentum. And it's really hard, I tell you, as a
Mm-hmm.
founder, to block that and put your blinders on and be like, nope, that opportunity is great, but I have to pass right now because I'm focused on this and I can't handle both. So I think that's a big lesson also I learned, and I'm trying now to apply it on everything that I do moving forward. I have one goal every quarter, and
Mm.
that way I'm like focused and I give it my all, and I make sure that that's achieved before I move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's super smart and really important to mention to our listeners, because I think we can easily fall into that trap of having shiny object syndrome, where like the next best thing, we land on all these different creative ideas that we want to take action on, or we see opportunities, and that's how we lose sight of the big vision, and how we can become really scattered, right?
Yeah.
So how do you then fulfill this big vision without getting distracted? Like, are there not opportunities that come your way that you're like, wait a second, I actually do need to take this? Or do you say no to everything except for that one goal?
No, there are. And the idea is, if I can't delegate it, if it's something that
Mhm.
I personally have to take on, then I have to say no, because I'm taking on already a major big goal that needs a lot of my attention. If it's something that the company can take on and I can delegate and I don't have much involvement, then of course we're open to that. But again, we value that as, what is the return on investment here, whether it's time or money, or just syndicating content, for example, to another platform. Like, what's in it for us? Of
Mhm.
course, we value what we offer, but at the same time, I think in this industry, a lot of people tend to take advantage of startups by getting free stuff and free services and free attention because they think we all need exposure, which is,
Mm-hmm.
at some point you got to put a stop in that. I'm like, if this is not making me money, or if it's not scaling my audience and giving me like major exposure or taking us to the next level, then we can't take it on. I love to help everyone and every other
Mm-hmm.
startup, but at the same time, we're a small team, and we produce content in-house. Everything is original. So there's only so much that we can take on. So of course I do evaluate every opportunity that comes my way, and I sit on it and I think a little bit further, and I also talk to the people like, so what do you think, like how much time or what do you need from us and what are you providing? And so we weigh that on and then see if it's worth the time or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like this rule that I always use in my business and in life. It's like if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. Like if something doesn't feel like a fuck yes, if something doesn't feel aligned with my vision, or even if I'm doing something in my business that isn't working, like you were saying, it's not bringing exposure, it's not bringing money, or it's not, hitting what I want it to hit, having the courage to like let it go, right? Because so much of this, like it's the letting go process that we can get caught up in. It's really hard, especially because we're building something and it feels like our baby. And so when we let things go, there's like this real intense grieving process that goes along with that. At least for me. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, I you have to be selective, like you said. It's your baby. You're not just
Mhm.
like, if anyone just comes knocking on your door, I want to play with your baby, would just give it away, I'm like, yeah, take care of it, I'll be back. But that's like, I have to be selective, and it's also a good thing to say more no's than yes, because then you are
Mm.
known in the industry as a very selective brand that your readers will keep trusting, that other brands will feel a little bit also honored to be part of what you're doing in the future if they do get an opportunity to work with you. But if you're everywhere, you kind of dilute the brand too. So you have to think of it that way. It's, yes, it might seem like a great opportunity on the surface. And trust me, I've experienced this for the past 2 years. Every opportunity that comes by, I'm like, oh, that's great. And these are great brands too. It's not like people don't know about them. So I'm like, okay, Sway associated with that brand, it would be great. And then when we evaluate the return of investment, I'm like, I lost money and time, and maybe there was really no return on investment. So I think it's something that I talked to, my former marketing director about, is like, I get so many emails asking about collaborations and
Mhm.
partnerships, but 99% of the time, no one knows what that means. They don't
Mhm.
know how they want to partner with you. They don't know how to collaborate with you. They come to you thinking that you will figure it out for them, which is more work for me. So unless you have a clear ask, and the reason why you're reaching out to me is XYZ, and here's why Sway would benefit from this, I barely respond, because I
Mhm.
can't respond to hundreds of emails like that just because you love what we do, which I very much appreciate. And I try to, thank every supporter, for their time spent on Sway. But at the same time, I think um, that you can get lost in that correspondence of, I just want to partner with you, but there is really no clear ask behind it. And I think it goes the same way with networking. And I know
Mhm.
we kind of covered that in that event that we went, that, we attended, both of us. A lot of people reach out to, potential role models or mentors or partners without a clear ask. And it's just,
Mhm.
everybody's busy nowadays. You have
Mhm.
to find a way to be selective, and at the same time you have to find a way to know how to ask for what you want and know what you given in return.
Mhm. Yeah, so being really crystal clear on what it is that you're asking for. And also on the opposite end, um, knowing that it's okay to say no more than yes.
Hmm. It's like become a game for me. It's like, oh, let's see how many no's do I get. I think you get used to it that way, because I was a yes person for sure over the
Mhm.
past couple of years. And then I realized, and even my team told me, they're like, you try to say yes to everything and you try to take on everything and please everyone. And really, that's not a good thing for a
Mhm.
founder. And it's also kind of a dilemma for me, because, we have a mission and we have a specific vision to really be able to help all these women, you know, no matter what they're going through, but I can't personally do that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why, like, going back to our conversation before, there, you need to find a way to scale that impact without having to do that one-on-one, you know, because it's not realistic
Mm-hmm.
to think that you're going to be able to help everybody that reaches out to you and give your time to everyone to solve their problems.
Yeah, I think that every founder, entrepreneur, solopreneur, anyone starting their own thing, at the beginning, we're very much yes people, you know, because you don't want to miss out on an opportunity. You're building, you want to try and get your hands in as many pots as possible and expand your reach. But we all reach that place where it no longer becomes energetically viable, right? Like I don't have anything else to give.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to deplete us. And then the business starts working against us. And we have to make that seemingly tough decision, because at the time it seems tough to say no, but we have to make that seemingly tough decision to start saying no and really using our discretion, our discernment to like understand which opportunities do we really want to follow or pursue, and which ones do we want to let go of, as well as which pivots are needed in our business right now, like what needs to change. And again, like I know I said this before, but that takes so much courage. I know so many other entrepreneurs who get stuck in their business, and it's because of this stubbornness, you know, just not seeing that things can go in a different way. So I really, really love the way that you are choosing to build your startup. And for those who are listening, who perhaps feel as though they are in that place of, you know, things aren't really working the way I wanted them to work, I don't know what to do. What do you have to say to those people? What advice could you advise for them?
Well, for one, you're not the only one in that place. So I think it helps knowing that you're, you know, I think that was something I struggled with, that I felt like everybody was living their best lives and I was stuck in this really bad place after everything I've built and done.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're not alone. And I think you can definitely find other people that you can, you know, share that experience with, and it makes you feel a little bit better. I know I did. It helped me having kind of a group of women that I would just go to and just rant, you know, you just need to vent a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
just get it out, because you can't keep that all inside of you. And then two, just like success, failure is also just temporary. Everything's temporary, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And being at that moment right now, it doesn't mean you're going to be in it for too long or for very long. You will find your way out if you stick to the vision. Of course, you're going to have to find a way to pivot and shift the way you're getting to that vision, but you will get there. I think making sure that also self-care is
Mm-hmm.
something helped me a lot. I found the time to spend with myself. I finally, everything that I felt like I couldn't do over the past 2 years because I was too busy building my startup, I spent doing this past summer. My only project during my time when I was feeling down and stuck in this place was taking care of myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking it day by day, having absolutely no expectations, because without expectations, you have no disappointment. And that's, I think, so different than how I used to operate over the past 2 years. I used to always wake up and check my email because I expected an email from an investor or like a revenue generating thing coming through. There was always something I was chasing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I reached that place where I felt like I was down completely and that's it, I hit a dead end, I just started living. I just started
Mm-hmm.
surviving. And that's such a different mindset. And it opens so many more doors. It's almost like you flip the switch in your mind that just opens all this great energy coming to you, and things start happening out of nowhere. I don't even know how to explain that because I'm not the most spiritual person around, but you know, it's just a switch in the mindset completely switches your situation. And for me, I felt like I hit rock bottom. So I'm like, it can't really get worse than this. It's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't I had to let go. Like you said, it's hard to let go, but I just had to let go and find a way to do it. I had to start working out again, to just forget about my pain and failures and things not going the way I wanted them to. I started meditating and, taking in yoga classes, even though I really hated them before I got bored. But then I started really, like I said, spend time with myself. And I would repeat to myself, this is only temporary. We will find a solution. It will come through. Everything else I wanted, it will come through. It's just not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, to summarize everything, I know I'm like rambling, but to summarize all of it is just self-care and spending time with yourself, and switching your mindset is really vital for you to get out of this phase, because it's just a phase. It's not going to last forever. It will get better. I promise you.
That's really sage advice, and especially the self-care part, because I think a lot of people forget about that piece. They forget that in order to even like let more creative ideas flow so that you can land on a different way of achieving your vision, you need to create that space. And we don't have space when we're stressed out and overwhelmed with work all the time. So to create that space for ourselves, to take care of ourselves, it's crucial. It is crucial. Thank you so much for sharing that with, I think a lot of people see startups on the outside and they see the success, or they see the successes from, entrepreneurs. It's what you show online, but they don't really hear about the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and how tough it can be and how many pivots it has actually taken to create that success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important for people to understand that there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes, and that, like you said, they're not alone. If people are going through this, if you're listening and you're experiencing this in your business right now, you're not alone. I mean, I've just gone through this again for the second time in 2 years.
Yeah,
And
it happens more often than we wanted to, but
right.
it gets better.
Yeah. And I think we become more resilient to it too. Like last year for me was my massive pivot. And then this year I'm going through another one. And my automatic reaction was like, oh, fuck, this again. But at the same time, I was like, hey, I know how to handle this now. And I know that it's needed, because when I listened the last time, it provided some incredible results. So it's just like having that courage to sway with the journey, right? And to really listen.
And it
So
builds character. I mean, imagine, and now if when I was looking back at that, I was imagining if I never really had to go through some of the difficulties and challenges I went through over the past, let's say, 5 years,
mm-hmm.
and just go into just great, moments and whatnot, I would not be the person I am today. I
Mm-hmm.
built so much character and strength because of all the things I had to overcome to even make it to this point,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's very important. It's something that you need to cherish. Sometimes I'm actually like very grateful for the rejections and the failures and the things that didn't go well and
Mm-hmm.
went wrong, because without that, you wouldn't find your potential. You wouldn't live up to your potential, and you would always be kind of limited because everything's going well. That's complacency, and that's the worst thing that can happen to a leader, is where you get
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. So I think I think it's necessary to go through those things, even when you've made it big. That way
Mm-hmm.
you keep always progressing and you're growing, because if it's just a smooth ride, it's boring too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is necessary. I believe that too. And I love that you shared that you're grateful for your rejections and everything that's happened. And I believe strongly that all of this prepares us to be the leader that we need to be to fulfill our big vision. We need to go through this to strengthen ourselves, to hold the fulfillment of what it is that we're actually building.
Hmm. Absolutely. This is kind of like your moment to train. It's like
Mm-hmm.
training for a boxing match.
Yeah.
You're going to be punched all the time by your trainer. You're going to get up, fall down, get back up, and then you'll be ready for the day for your fight. So that's kind of how I think of it. I'm like, I'm just in training mode right now. It's okay. All my bruises, I wear them.
We wear our bruises with pride. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, building a business, building a startup is no easy feat. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today on Love Punch. And we're nearing the end of the episode. So Iman, I would love for you to share a Love Punch with our audience.
So remind me again, like what
Mm-hmm.
that is.
Yeah. So a love punch is like a punchy little quote that's going to sum up the lesson of today's episode.
I would say sometimes in life it's just you and your hustle. There is no safety net. There is no one coming to your rescue. It's just you and your grind. And the quicker you assimilate and live by this, the happier and more successful you'll become. Because I think a lot of us kind of wait for that person to come help them or rescue them or take them out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
That person is you.
Such a powerful reminder. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And please tell our love punchers how they can stalk you online.
Oh, yay. So I'm on social media, finally back at Iman Oubou, IMANOUBOU. And then our Sway handle is at Sway Media, and Sway is with 2 A's.
Perfect. I will share those in the show notes with you all. Iman, I want to say thank you again for just being here on Love Punch and for sharing your insights. You are amazing.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thanks for having me. I missed doing this whole podcast thing. I kind of took a break, but I'm so glad to be back on it.
Yeah, everyone, she's back. It's official. She's back. She's got a groove.
Like my dark time from my cave, I had to hide for a little bit and like get that clarity, but now I'm back.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's great to have you back. And to our listeners, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Love Punch, where I'm challenging thought leaders, influencers, and entrepreneurs like you to make a lasting impact. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either me or Iman online about today's episode, and I will see you back here next week for a new episode of Love Punch.